It's the all-wheel drive event at Lithia Ford of Boise. From hunting trips to ski trips to trips to Grandma's house. Nobody does AWD like LFB. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Eat Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the flaming hot grilled cheese burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool day. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
The final buzzer is sounded on another night of Mountain West basketball, and it's time to break down the action with Tom Moser on another night in the Mountain West, presented by Circus Sports. Headed to Las Vegas for the Mountain West tournament in March? Make sure to stay at Circa Las Vegas and watch all the action at Stadium Swim, where the sports are on 365 days a year. Another night in the Mountain West has interviews, analysis, opinions after the final Mountain West basketball game of the day wraps up. All BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. The title sponsor of Bronco Nation News is Lithia Ford of Boise. Check out our full inventory of vehicles online at lithiafordboise.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Did your team just get a big win? Suffer a bad loss? Come discuss it with us. Send us a comment or question in the ICCU YouTube chat, or leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/BNN. Now let's go to the Sun Cruiser Studios and join Tom Moser for another night in the Mountain West on Bronco Nation News.
Hello, everyone. Hello, friends, fans of the Mountain West. You have come to another night in the Mountain West, Saturday, December the 20th, the first full day of conference play in the Mountain West. As you can tell, I am flying solo tonight for you Star Wars people. Han Solo. I'm Han Solo here. BJ's, we know, is away. Thought about bringing on Nathan, who was covering the game down in Boise for BJ, but with the result going the way it did, we're not going to probably bring Nathan on. So a lot to talk about. Let's get some house cleaning things out of the way, housekeeping items, if you will, while we get some people to come on in. As BJ and I talked about the other night, not really much going on over the next week as we hit the meat of the holidays. So we probably will not be back until Tuesday, December 30th, right before New Year's Eve. We have a full card that night of conference play. So with just some odd non-conference games, Monday the 22nd and Monday the 29th, we're not going to do those nights. But be sure to check back then on Tuesday, December the 30th. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel here. Some of you are coming in through my Twitter feed, through BJ's Twitter feed, through some of the other devices that I'm streaming it through when I publish this. But we want you guys to all subscribe to the YouTube channel. As you know, that helps. Some of you have done it already, and that's wonderful. You know, it helps out, helps me, helps the whole process here, helps the show, helps the network. So make sure you're doing that. Let's see. Otherwise, let's get to the hoops today. We had 6 games, kind of a mixed basket, if you will. And one of the funny things is, as I noticed, I have all the box scores pulled up here. Not a single one of the 6 games was decided by single digits. So we call it another night in the Mountain West. You see something new every night. This was not the most competitive day of hoops in the Mountain West. Obviously, we had 5 winners because the 6th winner was a non-conference game, and we dropped that one. So nothing that really went right down to the wire. Some very good performances, some not so good performances. I'm going to go in reverse order. Now, look, we've talked about this before. This is supposed to be an interactive show. We want you guys to comment, question, feedback, any of that stuff as far as, I can get kind of what's going on in here. I got one right away. Nathan put me onto this. Boise will be better than tonight. That was an anomaly. We'll get to that one next. Like I said, I'm gonna go in reverse order here. Let's talk about the non-conference game that we just watched. Some of you watched between the number 1 team in the country, Arizona, and San Diego State. So look, for 20 minutes, we saw the Aztec team that we expected from the start of the season. Let's be honest, right? They defended incredibly well. Arizona is number 1 for a reason. Forget about their resume. I mean, the wins that they have piled up is ridiculous. 5 or 6 wins against legit teams. But they looked the part. They looked the part with their length, their athleticism, their strength. The play-by-play, the announcers couldn't rave enough about their physical strength. And so, I mean, that's what they are, right? And so you kind of got the feeling, even though the Aztecs played with them and they had to lead most of the half, but they were probably going to be in a little bit of trouble when they didn't have a bigger margin. And in fact, they actually fell behind by 1 at the half. So that was not a super job. I was kind of dumbfounded. I put the box score up there to take a look at, because to be honest, I didn't look at the stats yet. I was kind of getting ready for the show here as I was watching the end of the game. I didn't really understand Dutcher's technical there. Look, I get it. There's times for a technical. Watching the game there, and of course I was watching 2 games at once because the Boise Nevada game was it was actually competitive at that point, but I didn't get the feeling when Dutcher got that tee that the calls were like massively skewed against the Aztecs. So I didn't really understand that. Like the fouls were even on the board. I mean, that doesn't completely tell the whole story all the time. I just didn't feel like that was the right moment for that to happen if you're Dutcher. Maybe had he not done that, he could have done it early in the second half, and maybe that would have been more appropriate. And look, it probably didn't have any bearing anyway. As you see the final here, 68-45. San Diego State scored 18 points in the second half, and I think 5, 6, 7, 8 of those came in the last couple minutes after I kind of tuned out. So they were just completely shut down by the athleticism and length of Arizona. Again, no shame in that. But as we've talked about before with this team, they're running out of opportunities here to kind of get themselves in a position where they can qualify for the NCAA tournament. They had moved up, or at least within a working margin of the Ken Palm after they blew out Air Force the other night. But, it's back to conference play now. So the quad 1 opportunities are going to be limited. The quad 2s are going to be plentiful, but can they win on the road? I mean, this wasn't even a road game. They have not played on the road yet. Like I don't want to joke about it, but I couldn't even really identify some of the players at first because they were wearing their black uniforms, and they haven't done that all year, I don't think, because they've been in white uniforms at home all season. So it took me a minute to see which one was which guy, and I'm just not used to them playing on the road, and they're probably not either. So they haven't been super on the road the last 2 years in conference play. It's cost them a chance to win the regular season title. So what makes you think that this bunch is going to go on the road and go 8-2 in conference play and finish the conference schedule 16-4? I don't have confidence in that happening right now. You look at some of the numbers, and this isn't just me. Aztec Nation fully understands this too. Magoon Gawath, 1 for 6, 2 rebounds, 3 points. I understand he's still working his way back, but it's just not good enough. Miles Bird, 2 for 7, 0 for 3 from the 3, 2 rebounds, 7 points. Just not good enough. Reese Waters, 2 for 10. So from your 3, all conference guys in theory, right? That's 2, 4, 5 for 23, 5 for 23. 7 rebounds is fine. I guess it's fine. But I mean, you need more from those guys to beat good teams, right? there's, again, no shame in losing this game to Arizona. You would have liked to have competed a little bit more. Once the Wildcats started making some shots in the second half, it just went downhill. Even the announcer said you can see the body language starting to change, and it just snowballed and it went downhill. And once it was a double figure game, it was all over from that point. But man, what, I just don't know where the Aztecs go from here. Right, they're in serious trouble. We'll have to see where their metrics go. It's just like they need more from their guys, like BJ Davis again, who I've raved about, 1 for 12, 4 points. So, it's tough to blame BJ because he's been their most consistent guy this year, and nobody really had a very good game. If you look at the shooting splits, 15 of 57, shooting threes, 1 for 14. That's 7%. Now they're not, I'll take 14 because that's not a lot and they're not a good 3-point shooting team, but man, you got to make more than 1 out of 14. Like, I could do that and I haven't, whatever, but obviously a lot of credit goes to Arizona, but they've just dug themselves a big hole right here. And I don't have a positive vibe about them kind of moving it forward, like what to expect out of them. So, as Braden, a very good fan and follower, says, is the offense a problem? Let me get that back up here so where I can see it. In your opinion, or is it just Arizona being Arizona? So it's funny. I had the stats on before I saw your comment, Braden. I love the defense holding zone at 68 is like 50 and below to the Mount West teams. And I agree with that. When it was 20-27 at half, I said, look, you're not going to hold Arizona. It's funny. They got 68. I said, you're not going to hold them below 65. And so we're in trouble now because I don't think we can get to 60 the way their offense looks. And is the offense a problem, or is it Arizona? So look, Arizona is this was built to be a lower scoring game. Okay. San Diego State has struggled defending this year, but if you look at some of their games, Michigan aside, because Michigan's just like a different animal right now, but the game they lost to Troy shot the lights out from deep. Even some of those other weirder games, Baylor made a ton of shots. Lamar, who they ended up running off the floor in the second half, made a ton of shots from the outside. That's not how Arizona is built. They're an inside team. They're physical. They don't shoot a ton from the outside. They did make a few in the second half when they got rolling, but that's not their game. This isn't like playing Alabama or Colorado State. They're more of an interior team. So I thought that if the Aztecs brought their energy level, which they did, that they could kind of keep the Wildcats down a little bit. At the other end of the floor, and I'll talk about this in 1 or 2 of the other games later, sometimes you just have to credit the defense. Like if the opponent is longer than you, they have a length advantage, they have an athletic advantage, and they're engaged, it's difficult for you to get shots up. It just is. Or your shot is rushed or hurried, and even if it's just hurried by 10%, it's going to lower your percentage by 5 to 10%, if not more. And you see those long arms coming at you. You see the physical guys making it difficult to get those shots inside. So, some of the jump shots that Davis and Bird were taking, they're contested. I don't, maybe there were a few, but I don't remember a ton of open jump shots that they missed. So you have to credit Arizona. That's why I said there's no shame in losing this game. And had they, beaten Troy, and obviously beaten Troy and Baylor, but at least beaten Troy, we'd have a little bit better feeling right now. I don't, so maybe something's wrong with the offense. I don't really know what it is. We don't, somebody who's playing point guard, who do we want playing at this position, right? Like Dutcher's been, let's look back at the minutes here. He's using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys, double figure minutes. Now, we saw several teams do that in the conference today, but I just don't know if Dutch knows the guys that he wants out there at certain moments, right? Simmons had 15 today. It seemed like he had kind of fallen back a little bit. The Goreville only 13. Bird 23. Like, I just don't know. Is it the offense? I don't have a great feeling about the offense moving forward. I really don't. It's like if when you're playing against a defense, I don't know how many more defense are going to play like Arizona, let's be honest, but like it's not a good matchup. So you expect to score more than 45, but again, once it got kind of out of hand a little bit in the second half, I think they let it get away mentally, and so I wouldn't put a ton of stock into that, but obviously it's certainly not a good thing moving forward. So I don't know. I got another one here from John. What has happened to Miles Bird? Looks disinterested this year. Here's the funny thing, and I'm not going to relate D3 to D1. Because when I was in college, I was coaching D3. I never coached D1. So these athletes are at a different level than what I'm used to, right? But it's one of the weirdest things when you coach in college. Okay, when you first get to college as a freshman, even likely as a sophomore, you are so gung ho and ready to go. It's a new thing. You're playing college basketball. You want to get noticed. You want to be seen. You want to be a big man on campus. All of that stuff, right? By the time you're a junior and senior, you got a lot of other things going on. Right now at the D3 level, it's you're trying to set yourself up for your future in business or whatever field you're going into, your internship, this and that. You want to finish your career out, but you're not into it the way you were 3 years earlier. I saw it for years, and with guys who were good players. Now, obviously, Miles Bird has a pro future, whether it's in the NBA or the G League or whatever they call it these days, or somewhere else, right? We don't know. So I don't know. It could be a case of what I referenced a second ago, just on a different level, right? Like he didn't play a lot, but he was on the team that made it to national championship game. He's won a championship with this team. He's been in the Final Four, and he was this close to running off to the NBA, and nobody would have blamed him. Nobody would have batted an eye. When he decided to come back, he was like a legend and a hero in Aztec fans' minds because he was going to come back and give it his all. And when you see your team that you're a part of, and whether you own some of it, none of it, a lot of it, whatever, when you see them struggling to meet expectations and you're a senior and you got a future like that, for some people, and I'm not saying it's that way for us, but it's easy to just kind of let go and not have the same buy-in that you had when you were a freshman or sophomore. I know that seems silly to some of us who have never been able to play at that level. Like, what are you talking about? How can you sacrifice? But I'm telling you, these guys got other things going on. We don't know what's going on in their other lives with other stuff personally. And I'm not going to get into that stuff. And I'm not even saying that for Miles. I'm just saying in general. But I just, you just don't know. You just don't know. So I think that's it for that one. Let me move on to the other late game that took place here. And I mean, look, as I get this box up here, 81-66 was the final from Lawler. First of all, let's just say this, a very good effort by Nevada. This was a very dialed in effort from Nevada. And it's funny, somebody asked me about rankings, and I didn't do them this week. I was waiting until today's games were over to do them. And now, as I think about it, I have no idea what I would do with the rankings. Nevada's a team that not just but I think anybody who is doing rankings would have in that 7 and 8 batch, like all year, right? Their resume is what it is. They don't have any really great wins until tonight. And they have one bad loss to UC Davis. Many of the teams in the conference have a bad loss. But they had several other games where they just kind of skated by, and they could have had a couple more losses, right? And they have injuries, right? Camper was their leading scorer. He's missed a bunch of games now. Arma Trading, who I was high on in the preseason, has missed a bunch of games in a row. But I'll tell you what, certainly you didn't get Boise's A game tonight, right? They just peaked on Sunday when they dominated St. Mary's for 36 or 37 minutes and then found a way to hang on. And everybody's telling them how good they are, and they're nudging back up. But look, this isn't news, folks. The people who follow college hoops, winning on the road is tough, man. Winning on the road is tough. Okay, it's tough to win college basketball games. Winning games on the road against good teams is really freaking hard. Okay, and Alford has been around and coaching since probably most of us watching right now have been paying attention to college basketball. Okay, like he played in the 80s for Bobby Knight, right? He's been around. He knows what he's doing. And I've kind of been semi curious about his buy-in lately, as we actually talked about here on the show with Jeff and BJ on Wednesday. But look, it doesn't mean that he's not going to show up with a game plan and try. And his guys were engaged tonight defensively, man. Every rotation was made. Every help slide was there. They were scrambling everywhere. They made it really difficult on Boise. Great game plan. Buchanan was kind of a non-factor. Dylan Andrews was pretty poor. As we look at the stats here, Andrews 2 points on 1 for 5 shooting. Buchanan 2 points on 0 for 3 shooting. He's got to get more than 3 shots in 25 minutes. Now, I will address one of the other main issues to this game in a second. Fielder 6 points. So there are 3 of your big guns, Buchanan, Fielder, and Andrews, that combined for 10 points. It's similar to the San Diego State recipe, right? You can't go on the road and beat good teams when you're getting that. Now, Meadow kind of picked up tonight. Parolin 13 off the bench, and the freshman Spencer Aarons off the bench with 11. But, I mean, you're just not going to win games like that. From the Nevada perspective, Comer 24, Price 11, Weems and Bailey 8. A lot of balance for the Pack. Now, both teams took 45 shots. The Pack made 5 more. Now, the issue, Boise great on the glass, out-rebounded the Pack. They did turn it over a bunch more, which was a testament to the Nevada defense. Now, I have to talk about the officials in this game. Obviously, we all know about Vern Harris. When Vern gets the whistle, it's like a coin flip of whether or not it, and more often than not, the coin goes the wrong way of what we're going to get. And tonight we got bad Vern, and he brought along, as I wrote it down here, Alfred Smith and Scott Brown, who you may not know as well. He brought along Alfred Smith and Scott Brown for the ride tonight because they called a total of 47 fouls, and there were a total of 65 foul shots. And that's in a 15-point game. That's with no late game fouling, no foul. I mean, maybe there was one at the end. You could tell Leon, who got a tee just for the sake of getting it, was kind of pushing the limits of getting thrown out as he, called a late timeout for no reason other than to kind of just get in their ear and keep barking at him. I mean, look, I will say this. The officiating had no impact on the outcome of the game, okay? But it completely disrupted the flow. And I watched every game today in the conference, and I've watched every game, as you know, all season just about. And I've watched other games too. It's been a while since I've seen a ref show, and it's disappointing that it happened in this game. You know what you're getting with Vern. I mean, so we shouldn't be completely surprised, but it's still disappointing. So obviously there were some guys on the bench in foul trouble, and that didn't help the cause for Boise. But look, they need to get Andrews going. He was not good at all tonight. He just, I don't know. Neto, is Leon going to ride with Neto then? I don't think it's ready to happen yet. Like, Andrews was one of his 2 main acquisitions, if you will, in the offseason with NIL and the transfer portal, and you can't bag him. I made this comparison a week or 2 ago, but it's like 2 years ago when he had a really good team, but he struggled because he brought in Roddy Anderson, and Roddy wasn't the answer, and Jace Whiting wasn't experienced or good enough. Now, Neto may get there, but is he there now? I don't know. And if he's not, it's going to be difficult for Boise to win games on the road. I always say it's difficult for your role players to step up and play good on the road because it's different. It's a different environment. It's very difficult. Okay. Let me see. Okay, here we go. I got big Boise fan, Jordan. Boise State lost on their own merits, but that needs to be the final game. A University of Idaho donor relations guy gets the ref. Didn't know that we had some connections there. Yeah, I mean, I just talked about the officials, Jordan, and you said it. They lost on their own merits, right? I mean, they Nevada outplayed them. They outworked them. They out-executed them. I don't want to say better game plan, but Nevada had an A-plus game plan, and that's a credit to Alford and Noodles and whoever else on the staff is devising that stuff. Boise didn't. Again, they weren't engaged from the start the way they were on Sunday. Call it what it is, home cooking, whatever. Again, the crowd didn't necessarily go, or the official weren't kind of slanted towards Nevada. It just took away from the flow of the game, and it was disappointing. So let me see. What else can I get here on the I had some other Aztec comments about the Goreville. He hasn't lived up to the billing. I heard good things about him in the offseason. 0 double-digit scores for San Diego State in the second half. Yeah, look, Arizona just exerted their will in the second half. They're the better team, and when the other team is better than you, you need to hope that they have an off day. And Arizona didn't. I mean, maybe they were half asleep early a little bit, but I think that was San Diego State played really good basketball, and they just woke up in the second half, and it was just domination. So let's see, what else can I put on here before I move on? If there's anything else on this Boise game. Okay. Thought came back from Nevada game. Too many whistles. Nevada seemed to find its rotation. Where do they sit in the conference? Yeah, Thomas. So I just mentioned earlier, it's tough to say. We got to be careful, all of us, not just me who's making rankings, but any of us, and many of us that are just sitting there as fans of a specific team often think our team is better or higher than they are, really, right? And that's no shock. But we got to be careful about just kind of judging teams off of one game, right? Nevada looked incredible today. They looked incredible. We'll get to another team or two in the next 20 minutes that looked incredible today. Boise did not look good. So do you dismiss what Boise did over the last week and a half when they went to Butler and knocked off Butler and then knocked off St. Mary's? And Nevada, who needed a bucket in the last minute to get by Duquesne. So these are one game things, right? Like they're college kids. I know we say that they're semi-pro because they are, but I mean they're college kids. Anything can happen when they step on the floor for a 40-minute game. It's not an NBA playoff series of 5 games. So, I mean, yeah, it certainly lets me think that Nevada has another gear that maybe I didn't. Are they finding a rotation? It's interesting because Alford doesn't even have 2 guys. What's he going to do when Camper and Armo Trading come back? Like, what's he going to do? You saw that with Colorado State way back 3-4 weeks ago when they lost to Denver. They had a rotation in place. Bemba hadn't played a second in the season yet. Ali tried to sneak Bemba in there the game before they went to Atlantis to play their 3 games in the MTE in the Bahamas. And it kind of threw the rotation off, and they lost to Denver, and it might cost them an at-large bid. So you really got to be careful with this because guys are slotted into roles now, as you're saying, right? And I mean, surely you're going to take a guy like Camper because he was scoring double figures and doing a lot of good stuff for Nevada. But man, it's a fine line to walk, and that's why these guys get paid the big bucks, because one wrong move like that. And again, I'm not saying that Bemba cost CSU the Denver game, but I would probably bet a large sum that had Bemba stayed in street clothes for that game and not thrown the thing off, that CSU would have won that game. Okay, it's just kind of throwing the biorhythms of the team off. It happens. Like, I've been around, and many of you have probably been in a locker room. Doesn't necessarily have to be basketball, but that dynamic changes so often, right? It's a Patrick Ewing theory. Somebody coined that. I don't know if it was Bill Simmons or somebody. Teams play better oftentimes. Because I saw a lot of Nevada fans saying, man, we did this and we did it without our 2 best players or 2 starters. And New Mexico, same thing. And I'll talk about them next. When guys are out, like, other guys step up. Like, Nevada didn't play 5-on-3 tonight, right? Just because Camper and Armo Trading were out, it wasn't 5-on-3 and they did this like shorthanded. They got to put 2 other guys out there that are scholarship players that want to prove that they can do the same job that Camper and Armo Trading were doing. And they're going to bust their butt to do it so they can get those minutes. So, yeah, great. Sometimes you miss guys that are out, but sometimes, like, the other guy just does just as well. And would Camper have done, I know he and Comer shared time a lot tonight, but do you honestly think Nevada could have done much more tonight if Camper was in the lineup? Because I don't. Like, you still only get 1 basketball. You're not going to get 7 extra possessions because Camper's there. So, like, we got to be careful how we view that stuff when guys miss games and teams are missing players, right? Now, back to this comment about my thought on where they sit in the conference. I mean, look, it's the same as what we're going to talk about with Wyoming in a few minutes. I need to see it again. I need to see again. I need a bigger sample size, right? I don't like the phrase like data point, but I need another game or 2 here to see Nevada against somebody where I can judge like what they are for real, right? Are they the team that just got by Pacific and Southern Illinois and Duquesne, or are they the team that handled Boise tonight, right? And so it's tough to tell. But obviously, like, had this not gone their way tonight, and Boise was favored in the game. So, call it an upset, call it what you want. But had they lost this game, I think it would have been pretty easy to say, well, we know that they sit in the middle to the bottom middle. So good question. See if I have any others on this game here as I get ready to move on to the next one. I mean, you have to be impressed. There's no doubt about it. The officiating across the board has been bad. They've all been inconsistent. I mean, look, I try not to focus too much on the officiating because, unfortunately, and I don't want to be an officiating defender, they are human. They make mistakes. I like to think, and I know some of you may disagree, I like to think that they have no bias and they're not like trying to favor a team or worse yet, like take a shot at a team. Okay. I like to think that that's the case, right? I hope that's the case. Otherwise, you're staring at a Tim Donaghy issue. But I mean, look, yeah, it's a difficult job, and it gets tougher by the year because, I mean, it's difficult to play defense without putting your hands on a guy, right? And that's why football has over the last few years changed the rules on pass interference, because it's difficult to cover a guy without kind of putting your hands on him. You can't do it. And it's difficult to guard guys off the dribble without kind of getting a little contact in there. And it's up to the officials with the whistles. And I guess that's your point, Steve. How are you going to call it? And these guys, probably dictated by Vern as the captain, the table captain, decided to call everything tonight, and it really disrupted the flow of the game. So, frustrating without a doubt. What do we got here? Okay, Larry, Boise plays at their best when their backs are against the wall. They lay an egg when people start telling them that they are good. That leads to a scary selection Sunday. There's definitely something to that, I would say, Larry, because as BJ mentioned the other night, the Hawaii Pacific game is certainly not the first time that they have lost as a big favorite to start a season. It's happened at least 3 or 4 times. There was a Cal State branch team in there that they lost to one year. I can't even remember some of the others anymore. And then, yeah, they turn it on. So maybe it's just one of those things. And it's not a Leon issue, right? We know Leon knows what he's doing, despite what some Boise fans might say. Leon knows what he's doing. It's maybe you think it's exclusive to Boise, and it might be, but that's just the nature again of college kids, right? You get told you're good, you're the big person on campus, you're getting all the headlines and all the shout outs on social media. You're not going to work as hard the next 2 practices. It just is what it is. On the other side of the coin, you get your butt whooped. Your coach is going to call you out in the film room the next morning when you're watching the film. Like Boise's going to fly back. They're going to watch the film tomorrow. They're going to get called out on film. They're going to go in and have a really good practice on Sunday or Monday or whatever Leon decides the schedule wants to be this year. So, I mean, that there's something to that, Larry, but that's also kind of just the way that human nature goes. Yeah, Greg, I just kind of mentioned that Nevada did it without their leading scorer. As far as Armo trading as a starting center, I liked him in the exhibition games, and I'll be honest, he left me wanting a little bit more before he got banged up. I'm not saying he can't contribute, but I think that we'll see if he ends up being a factor, because the fact is that Peyton White has looked really good in Armo Trading's absence. So I don't think that's something that Alford minds at all, giving those minutes to Peyton White. Now, he certainly isn't going to play 32 minutes, but he probably doesn't need him to at this point. So, okay, that's enough on that one. I think Nathaniel kind of sums it up here. Nevada was hungrier for the W than the Broncos. That really kind of sums it up. They were the hungrier team tonight, and it happens sometimes that way in college hoops. So, if you're Leon, you make that point to your guys, and he'll get it hammered across on the film that they were the hungrier team. They outworked us and out executed us, and I'm sure they'll get their revenge when they meet up in a month or 2 months or whatever it is at Extra Mile. So good job by Nevada tonight, very good, and a disappointing loss for Boise. But you can't be, it's a road loss. It's difficult. It's difficult to do it on a road. So all right, let's get to this one, because this again another non-competitive game here, nighttime in the pit. New Mexico 88 and San Jose State 65. Much like Nevada, and San Jose State too, to be fair, has a couple guys out. The Lobos were missing 3 guys. Now, if you were here for Wednesday's discussion with Jeff and BJ, you kind of, or you've been following it, you know that Bouillon has been hurt, and also the issue with Patton. Now Chris Howell, I knew he was nicked up a little bit, but Howell was out. So the Lobos certainly missing 2 starters and then a third guy, even though Patton was kind of in a doghouse. So they're really low then in terms of like rotation guys, right? You look at the guys that Olin used tonight. He used 8 guys. You see Pons there in the box. I didn't watch the last minute. Maybe he got in for a minute. He got 3 minutes right at the end. So Olin used 8 guys, and that includes Tajavis Miller, who got 15 minutes, and he hasn't played probably in a month. And it also includes Vicentich, who, believe it or not, was the leading scorer with 19. I wonder what odds you could have gotten at the start of the day on Vicentich being the leading scorer. And I'll have to look this up later. I would almost guarantee you that he doesn't have 19 points all season before today, and he scored 19. Look at that. Look at his split: 7 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from the 3. He also grabbed 4 rebounds. So, I mean, look, shorthanded. We know San Jose State is always short a guy or two, but Miles, he stays in games. We talked about this the other night. Beat New Mexico last year. Almost beat him in the pit. I mean, so great job by New Mexico here. This is team basketball. This is what you should have expected from an Eric Olin unit, and this is what you should appreciate from an Eric Olin unit, right? We've said it before. I've said it for 8 months going on my pod, going back to the time of the hire, that don't expect – you have to adjust and change what you expect and what you're going to get from the Lobos now. It's not the Donovan Dent and Richard Pitino and even JT Toppin and Jamal Mashburn and Jalen House Showtime Lobos. It's not. It's not at all. It's a different type of basketball. And if that's not your thing, then go follow Richard and Xavier. Richard got a nice bounce back win tonight at Georgetown after getting run off the floor the other night by Creighton. So, teams do that, right? They look awful one night, and you don't judge them too much because you never know what they're going to get next time out. So, but this is it. Lobos, you got to be thrilled with that. You get a 23-point home win, and the second half was so not competitive. I didn't even pay much attention in the second half. But, I mean, unbelievable job by the entire unit. Again, looking at the stats here, they shoot 57% from the floor. They do shoot 30 of their 54 shots were threes, which seems a bit much. Only 10 turnovers. Rebounds are even. So, I mean, look, you get that effort when you're down a few guys, and this is what you have to do. You take care of your home games, and that's all there is to it. I do have a couple comments here on the Lobos. Let me get to it in a second. I will say this, that the other night BJ was running the controls in here. This is a lot. It's not as easy as it looks to flip the comments on, flip the box scores on, do all that stuff. So Lobos playing without 2 starters and an 8th man. Also, Vicente, crazy good game. Team is deeper than most people realize. So I will say, Jerry, that you'll get away with that against San Jose State. I mean, is Vicente going to do that when they go play at CSU, for example? Well, that's the $1 million question. He probably earned some more playing time tonight. Clearly, Patton's in a doghouse, right? Jeff mentioned the other night that Chris Howell has not been putting up big numbers, but he's an Olin guy. Vicentich's an Olin guy too. So maybe Vicentich has shown that he deserves some of those minutes that Howell was getting. Now they definitely need Bulljohn back. There's no doubt, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They need him back, right? Because they can't reach their ceiling and do what they want to do without a healthy big man inside. Okay, but yeah, look, I mean that's the old phrase about being greater than the sum of your parts, right? And they are a team, and it's incredible what you can do when you play team basketball and you don't really care about who gets the points. I don't see them forcing shots. I really don't. I think it was just it's something that Olin has ingrained into the culture. I thought I had another Lobo comment here that I wanted to get to. I had another. Okay. So Larry thinks that it looks smoother without Chris Howell. And you know what? There's no doubt that he's kind of a ball stopper out there, right? He doesn't take, well, he has lately, but he doesn't take a ton of shots. But, you don't really have to guard them out there either. And so it makes it difficult on the Lobos offensively. And there's probably something to that, Larry. But again, it's one of those things where Olin's probably trying to sacrifice a little bit of offense in those moments for some defense because he knows that Hal's going to buy in defensively and maybe Vicente not so much defensively. And that wasn't going to be exposed tonight because San Jose State doesn't have enough guys that can threaten you to score the basketball. And so that's maybe why he was able to kind of thrive tonight. But we'll have to see that keep moving forward here. Thanks, Nathaniel, for the comment there. Loving the coverage. Keep it up. That's the plan here. We're just getting started on another night in the Mountain West. Okay, Jordan has them for me here. One last thing on Boise, Bakersfield. Yeah, South Dakota State, and I remember that one too, and Charlotte, and of course the BC one. Yeah, that was an issue last year for sure. And then Nathaniel says, I think the team reconvenes after Christmas. Okay, well, so I should have even thought of that. They're not even going to watch the film tomorrow, so that'll be a good reason to get away here and get out of Dodge. As we Sick Modern, New Mexico made the right coaching hire. It's interesting. A lot of guys available, and maybe they did. They certainly made a good football hire because Eck did wonders for that team this year. And maybe they went 2 for 2 here because we know what Olin did at UC San Diego, and he might not be the flashiest guy, but he gets results. And I think he'd probably rather have that. So absolutely great job by New Mexico. So, and yes, there's another one. They keep getting better, and that's what you want, right? That's what I have said this on my pod before. That's what you expect out of an Olin team. They're going to get better, right? They're going to get better. They had some rough go early on, didn't look smooth at all. But Olin's not listening to that outside noise. He's tuning that stuff out and knowing that, telling and preaching to his guys, trust the process, stay with it, we'll get better, right? And they certainly have. Here's one more on that game from True Souls. When Albury has 5 or more assists, the Lobos offense is really good. Successful end of drive decisions are really big to this team. And you know what? We actually talked about that the other night when Jeff was here about. And my only critique of Albury to this point was the fact that sometimes he just goes too fast. So you look at the numbers there, 7 assists. Now, he did have 4 turnovers. You'd like that to be cut back a little bit, especially because it's against San Jose State, not a team that you normally associate with forcing turnovers. And so that's a number that against a better defensive effort, like we will see in the conference here, that's going to get ballooned up and it's going to cost you. Craig Richard is Richard Pitino, the coach of the Lobos last year. Albury is the key to every New Mexico win. Relying on 2 freshman guards won't get them as far. Great team performance tonight, no doubt about it. And so Hall had a quiet 18 again. He has a knack for getting the ball in the hole, and I'll give him credit because I wasn't sure if that would continue during league play. But I will say about Tannett, he just goes about his stuff. He's so athletic, and he makes plays and he makes things happen because I get it, Craig. I don't know any Richards. I got it. So he's gone. Okay. Tannett makes some plays with athleticism and it gets you buckets. So they are freshmen, and Steve says they're still on too many threes. Yeah, 30 out of 54. I don't like when they shoot that many. It's one of those things where it's like it's fool's gold because you make a few tonight. And, I thought about it with somebody else. What game was it? I'm trying to think of what game it was, but there was it might have even been that game, but, where there was a guy shooting a 3 and he made it. And then he took another one it was the game I'll get to next. So I'll get to that next. One more on this game. Hal is like the QB on defense, complete liability in offense. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of echoes what I had said a minute ago. And then, yes, John, we talked about JT Rock before. He has gotten better and he's finding his groove. He's settling into his role and he will be an impact player for them. I'm not saying he's going to get to the all conference level, but I do think he's a very nice contributor for them and one that I wasn't sure you were going to get within the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. So very good job by the 7-foot transfer from Iowa State. All right. So good job by the Lobos. They continue to trend upwards. There's no doubt about it. Let's get to this one here. And this was probably the most competitive game, I guess, by default of the day. Now, it ended as a 12-point decision, but again, Wahlberg got a little wonky at the end, and he got a tee, and it just got away from him. I mean, Fresno actually had the lead with 6 minutes left. They had a 1-point lead. So this was look, it was actually a pretty interesting game. If you look at the box score, Fresno had a lead at the half, which I have no idea how, because it was 27-11 UNLV. And I sent a tweet out that said, we're getting the world beater version of UNLV tonight, because you just never know what you're going to get with them. But they looked incredible for 10 minutes. And then he just took a nap. They decided to take like a mid-game nap. And Fresno went on an enormous run to close the first half. And then the second half was back and forth for 15 minutes. It was a really good game. I mean, look, these teams are what they are. They're average teams. They're not capable. And this is why you had the swings in this game. They're not capable of playing that way for 40 minutes, right? But they put it together in spurts. If we look at the numbers here, Gibbs Lawhorn at 28. Now, he's not a three-point shooter. He was 6 for 10. The one I said was Hamilton. I used to coach a guy in high school. He was like 6'6". He was chiseled. He was like built like a marble statue, and he had no business hanging out on the perimeter. And that's all he wanted to do. He didn't have the mindset to go inside and bang. He could have been a scholarship player, maybe like low D1, but he just wanted to hang out at the 3-point line. And it was the weirdest thing. But at the start of, in the first quarter of games, he'd launch a three, and it was like the opposite of what you expect. I'm sitting on the bench, like praying that it doesn't go in. And the opposing coaches are probably hoping that it does go in, because if he makes it, he's just going to launch like 2 or 3 more, and he's like a 30% shooter. And it's like, when you make one, how do you like tell the guy not to shoot anymore, right? And so that's what Hamilton did here. He only took 3, but he made his first one, then he took 2 more, and that made me think of that, because it's not a high percentage shot. He should be attacking the basket. And as you look at his numbers, he finishes 7 of 10 from the floor and 1 of 3 from 3. So 2 of his 3 misses were from the 3. But Gibbs Lawhorn, 28, 7 and 4, really good game. Hyde Brader, 7 of 16, 2 of 7 for 3. Like, he just got to make more shots. Like, if Fresno's going to win some of these games, they've had a shot to win almost all of their losses. Clearly, the Arkansas game notwithstanding, they've had a chance to win every single one of their losses. And I mean, I'm not going to 2 for 7 is 28-ish%. It's not very good. But even 3 for, like, he's got to make close to 50% of his threes. That's what he's out there for. He's a shooter, right? Now, he did have 5 assists tonight. If you look at the board, they made a couple other shots. But like, all in all, he's their guy. Like, Collins did a nice job, 7 assists. He had 5 turnovers. That's too much. Jock, the big man inside, 8 for 12. That's a pretty, and 11 boards. So that's a nice haul for the big man there. I believe he's a freshman. So nice job. UNLV did what they did. I will give them credit. They actually kind of put the game away down the stretch when, they've been known to not do that. And so credit to them for doing that. Nicholas, I need to sleep on it. I honestly have no clue, because as I mentioned, like, Nevada and Grand Canyon look like they deserve to be way up high right now. Like, do you vault Grand Canyon over Wyoming? Like, and I'll get to that game, I guess, next. Like, do you move Wyoming over Grand Canyon? They won on the road at their place, but they've been so uneven this year. I don't understand it, right? I don't know. The boss from his wedding from Kansas City, the awesome show, Tom, not because I'm paying you to do it. Great stuff. Appreciate everyone hanging out and talking ball with you. Will be fun doing this next 3 months. Yes, thank all of you for hanging out. It's 1:40 here on the East Coast. I'm sure it's 11:40 where most of you are, maybe even 10:40 if we got some West Coasters in here. But I'm glad all of you are here. I appreciate BJ watching from his hotel room instead of getting down out on the dance floor. Look, this will be awesome for the next few months. The only thing missing tonight was a competitive game. If we would have had the Boise St. Mary's finish tonight, man, oh man, or I'll never forget the first year that I started doing the pod, the infamous Utah State UNLV 4-point play, or was it a 5-point play? I don't even remember anymore, when Utah State stole that game from Vegas. So yeah, UNLV Fresno seem like a mirror image of each other. They are, Larry, and that's why I expected that to be a good game. Like, everybody ahead of time was like, that game's garbage. I knew that would be a good game, because they don't handle success well. It's like they don't know how to like keep it going. Like they fumble it, right? Nathaniel watching from Cleveland, good stuff. You're on the same schedule as me. Was it a five? Nathan says it was a 5-point play. I thought it was because it was a made three and a foul off the ball. So yeah, I mean, if we had, wait till we get one of those to talk about, and we'll be going. I won't even be able to juggle all the comments in here. So yeah, so that's about enough on that game. Good job by the Rebels, but again, those teams are what they are. Let's get to this one because this one was a shock, and I gotta say, right? So I did it last year, and I'll do it this year. I mean, I got a ridiculous response when I tweeted out yesterday about the Pick'em contest. Oh, and BJ, since you're watching, I forgot the old sponsor here, Sun Cruiser, right? One of our sponsors. I've been talking nonstop for what 45 minutes now. I need to take a sip here. Sun Cruiser vodka lemonade, very good. So, the Pick'em contest, right, had good participation and engagement with that last year, and I texted that out yesterday late afternoon. I had 90 replies with people picking all 6 games. Now I totally get it. There's some people that don't want to pick their team's game, and I get that. I'm very superstitious too. Don't get me wrong. So I don't blame you. But we had 90 people that picked all 6 games. Okay. Now I will say this: one of our other sponsors is Circa Las Vegas, right? And this is why I'm bringing it up right now. When we get to this game. You see those beautiful buildings and places like Circa Las Vegas and the other ones that are out there. Those are built because it's not easy to pick winners of games. Okay. And that Boise, or I'm sorry, that Grand Canyon and Wyoming game with a spread of like 1 or 2, basically like a pick 'em. So basically pick the winner. And in my contest, right? That's right. BJ says, way to plug the sponsor. You got to keep the sponsors happy, right? You got to keep the sponsors happy. So in that contest, okay, out of 90 people, because I went through and counted after the game was over because I knew it was a lot. 77 out of 90 picked Wyoming. Okay. That means 13 out of 90 picked Grand Canyon. Now, I'm not like saying that had anything to do with the result, but it's not easy to pick these games, right? Here you and we talked about this on Wednesday. All in the preseason, this was a game where you expected Grand Canyon to come in as a favorite. And how would they handle the road trip, their first Mountain West game, the elevation, blah, 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 right? Wyoming now has flipped the script. They were 8-0 at home, 9-2. Everybody talking about them, how good they're doing. Grand Canyon, not just like under the radar, they had not played good. They had not played well at all. Steve did not think Grand Canyon would handle the elevation. Yeah, and you're not the only one, Steve, right? Many people did not, okay? They handled it well. They looked razor sharp, okay? It was 16-3 before you could even catch your breath, right? Yeah, Craig, 100%. Grand Canyon asked and answered. So, credit Bryce Drew. I was in such a hurry to get the tweet out after the game, and the Y's and the U's are next to each other, and it didn't correct. And I typed Bruce Bruce Drew in there. So maybe he'll change his name to Bruce Drew, if he wants to keep getting W's here, because look, they look really good. And it's not a good matchup, right? It's not a good matchup for Wyoming because and look at the stats. Look at the stats for this game. The thing that stands out, look at this right here, the 3-point line. Wyoming, 3 for 26. 3 for 26. I don't even know how that's 12%. Like it looks like it should be like 8%. 3 for 26. First of all, Wyoming doesn't have enough good shooters from deep to shoot 26 threes. Now, I get it that several were in the last few minutes when they were trying to play catch up, but man, you should not be taking 26 threes, right? You're an attack the basket team. You're supposed to be getting up and going, but much like the San Diego State-Arizona game that I talked about a few minutes ago, you have to credit Grand Canyon. I've said from the start of the season, I don't know not that I don't know, but I don't trust them offensively. Okay. I don't trust them offensively, but they can D up, and their length and their athleticism was a massive bother for Wyoming tonight. Now, here's the issue. And Larry, to my point here, Larry says something didn't smell right with the small spread. And yeah, to Larry's point, when you have 77 out of 90 people in a just quasi contest that I do for fun, pick one team and the spread's only like two, it is a little, somebody knows something, right? So somebody knew that Grand Canyon was a good matchup here for Wyoming, and it played out that way. And this is where, and again, I'm not going to throw shade or critique Sundance for it because every coach has their own philosophy on it. Sundance in his second year wants to build confidence, get wins, all of that stuff. But this is where the schedule and the competition comes into play, because the only real competition that Wyoming can say simulated what they saw today from Grand Canyon was Texas Tech. Okay. Uh, Texas Tech, by the way, did beat Duke tonight. They came back and I didn't watch much of it because they were down like 15. I have no idea how they came back and won the game. So that's a huge win for Texas Tech. And it's funny because when they were down 15, I was like, man, and I was starting to think about Wyoming. I'm like, is Texas Tech even that good? Like, they got blown out by Purdue. They looked awful in one other game that I watched them. And and then there was the Wyoming game, and I'm like, I don't. Maybe this team isn't as a top 20 team like we thought. Like, obviously they have Toppin, they have a very good guard. I think Anderson's his name, but I don't know that they have a lot of depth. They have an injury or two, and I didn't not expect that result today. For them taking Duke down. But anyway, look, the fact is Wyoming did not get a lot of practice going against this type of length and athleticism. They don't possess it on their roster, and they didn't see it a lot. And so it's hard to simulate that in practice or at other points. And then you get smacked in the face when the ball goes up today in the middle of the afternoon, and all of a sudden you can't get to where you want to go on the floor, and you got to set up for outside shots because they're cutting off your drives to the basket. And Grand Canyon played excellent fundamental scouting report defense. They took away Wyoming's drives. They didn't let them get out in transition. Let me get back on here and look at this a little bit. Fast break points, 5. So Bryce Drew is stressing that in the locker room, in the pregame, in the film room, in this when they go over to scout. 5 fast break points for Wyoming. Okay. For a team that, as Sonny wants to play 12 guys, what do you do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys who play double figure minutes today. 10 guys. And he wants to run and utilize the altitude and the deep bench. And they had 5 fast break points. So again, that's a full credit to Grand Canyon. So I don't know what to do with Grand Canyon here in my head. Like, clearly, like, they're better than I had given them credit for. Well, I don't want to say that because they hadn't played it. They hadn't showed it until today. Today is what I expected all year from them. So this was the result that I would have expected back in 2 months ago. But after what we've seen so far, this is not what I expected. So massive credit to Grand Canyon and Wyoming. Now, because someone said is the shine off of Wyoming now, and I said, well, look, it's not off yet. We need to see another game or two, and then I'll judge it, right? We need to see another game or two, because I don't know, right? Like, there's answers now. We need answers, and this is what I mentioned a little bit ago when I said you don't want to rush to judge after one game, but certainly it's going to open your eyes, because what do you do now? What do you do for an encore? How do you follow this up? And that goes for both of these teams. So great job by Drew. He and his guys ready to go. Just fantastic job. Now, the last game, we're going to talk about, not exactly the most climactic game of the day, as the Aggies put 100 on the board against CSU. Now, before I talk about the game, let's talk about Jorgensen, who, or as the announcer was calling him, Jorgensen. I think he thought he was like a Norwegian speed skater or something. But Kyle Jorgensen, not Jorgensen. Jorgensen got hurt early on. It was already, I think, 12-0 at that point, so it really didn't have an impact on the game. Utah State was keyed up for this one, and the Rams were not. I guess the Rams did have some travel issues last night getting into Logan a few hours later than they wanted to, with some high winds in the Denver area. Again, maybe that contributed a slight bit. the same as the Jorgensen did for a slight bit, but it wasn't going to impact the result. Utah State looked incredible today. They look like a top 25 team. Like there's nobody they would win the conference today if they would play that way. This is what we saw in their MTE. Did not see it since their MTE, but very good job. Calhoun had them ready, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's just get through the Rams first because the Jorgensen thing is clutch. They're already missing Bemba, but not more than that. Like Jorgensen has developed into a legit dude. Like I said, after a week or two, it was noticeable that he was very improved and probably the most improved player in the league. And then he kind of went up to like an all league guy. He's been incredible. And if he's out for a sustained period, like, this is just catastrophic for the Rams. We'll probably find out tomorrow. Is it a knee sprain? Is it an MCL? Is it an ACL? Is he going to miss the year? Is he going to miss 3 weeks? Like a lot matters here for them moving forward because even if Bemba comes back, and I think they're targeting like a New Year's return for Bemba, even if Bemba comes back, like he's not going to replace Jorgensen's productivity. He's not. And they would have been really imposing with both of those two guys inside. There's such a drop off to Joppa, the other big. And, Ali hasn't really shown the willingness to play a smaller lineup. It's difficult to do against certain teams, but man, like they're going to be in for it if Jorgensen's out. And that's a shame because I do like this team. Now, they didn't have a shot today, right? They didn't bring their A game. I tweeted out like C- at halftime, and I got called out by several people that it should have been like a D, and they're correct. I was wrong. I was being too generous. It was definitely a D effort in the first half, and probably even a D- in the second half. Now Utah State gets an A+ across the board. They were engaged, and let's say this. I talked about because I was flat wrong in this game, right? Couldn't even be more wrong. On Wednesday's first show, I said I think CSU has a good chance to go in there and win the game. So you can kind of guess how my day went for forecasting games because that was not even close. This game was over 3 minutes in, but I mean, look, I had said that I thought that Ali and the staff would get some open looks, trying to exploit maybe some switching and some mismatches, but the Utah State defense is now something that we're going to have to take into consideration as a serious issue here for opposing teams in the conference because they looked incredible today. They didn't let the Rams get going at all. And, with CSU's offense, it's like a thing of timing, right? It's motion and movement, and anything can throw it off, like a deflected pass, and not just a deflected pass, but like a pass that you have to make further out than you want to make, right? Like it's kind of like in hockey. You got any hockey fans out there? You want to put your pass on the tape, right, of the stick. I watch hockey, right, mainly in the playoffs, but you want your pass to be tape to tape, right? The stick or the tape on your stick. Get it where the guy's stick is there, and you put the puck on the stick, right? Well, when you're running a motion offense like this, you got to get the ball in the guy's hands where he's cutting to, where he wants the ball. Utah State was not allowing that to happen. They were pushing the Rams out several feet away, and it's disrupting the whole rhythm of the offense. And as a result, look at the splits that they put up here. 18 for 49, 37%, not horrible. 7 for 23, 30%. Bad, not awful, but when you weigh them against the fact of how that this is the number one shooting team in the country, it's horrible. So, like, out of any unit today from any of our teams, like the defense of Utah State gets the star, number one star, and that's saying something because Utah State put 100 on the board, and Nevada looked incredible, and GCU looked incredible. So, I mean, look, this was something that I didn't really see coming. Nobody really played well for the Rams. And then you look at what Utah State did. Collins was on a heater in the first half. Falslev was on a heater in the first half. El Amin, who's getting more and more minutes, 25 minutes for Adlin El Amin, and he's now starting. So 6 for 9 from the floor and 8 rebounds for the freshman. He's a problem. And if he starts to get confidence and develop into a player, look out. Gary Clark was solid again with 8 and 6. So, it's just just plenty of guys that Calhoun can go to. But look, apparently he noticed that this group isn't fond of the matchup zone, or it doesn't bring out the best in the matchup zone. So he's kind of switched to more of like a man to man, a switching man to man, and it's obviously been what has kind of got them going, especially today here. So Larry, tough scheduling for CSU. This was their first road test of the season. Thought it might be a 10-point Aggie win. Um, it's obviously difficult. They went to Loyola, who they thought when they scheduled the game in the preseason or in the offseason would be a good test at Loyola. Well, Loyola has been a disgrace this year in the 300s in Ken Palm, so that obviously didn't matter. And they had the neutral games, but yeah, this was they were going into a hornet's nest here today, and Sick Modern USU is a team to beat until proven otherwise going into Mountain West play. There's no doubt about it that they're the team to beat right now. And the more we watch of them and some of the other teams, like look, they laid an egg too when they got smoked by South Florida, and they did a couple other games where they didn't look good either. And remember, Calhoun was calling guys out. So just as I don't want to jump to conclusions on other teams, I don't want to do it and crown Utah State yet, but there's no doubt about it that they look like the team to beat. Steve says some pre-Christmas trap games. That was discussed the other night too, where you talk about kids going home. So Nathaniel said Boise, they're probably flying out all over the place. And BJ mentioned that the other night too. I'm not saying that that's why they lost, but it's a lot easier to be distracted when you got a flight out to Texas or California or wherever it is that you're going, than going back to Boise to watch film, and you don't have to be around your team for another 6 or 7 days. So, that plays into it, whether you like to think it does or not. I mean, it does. So great job by the Aggies. Not a good job by CSU today. Let's hope for good news on the Jorgensen front. Obviously, the metrics are going to take a big hit when you lose by 40. As much as they'll help Utah State, it's going to hurt CSU. So much like San Diego State, they did their at-large chances no favors today. And really, you can put Boise in there too, although that was never going to be an easy game for Boise to win. It's going to make it that much difficult. I know San Diego State's was a non-conference game, but for CSU and Boise already sitting at 0-1 in conference play now, if your target is to go 15-5-ish, maybe even have to go 16-4, now it just makes it that much harder. So not easy to go on the road. I mean, not many teams are going to win at Utah State this year, and not many teams are going to win in Reno. So there's no shame in doing that, but what it is it's a missed opportunity. So, okay, we've gone, I don't even know how long we've gone here. Oh man, we've gone for 1 hour and 7. Look at that. Okay. And I did it all by myself. Again, much appreciation for all of you being here. I know it's late. Steve says it. You said it. The name's in the title. Just another night in the Mountain West. I can almost, I can't guarantee, but our next show on Tuesday the 30th, I'm going to guess that we'll have a nail biter or two to talk about instead of just the 6 games, which we could talk about the teams here because they deserve it. The teams that won all deserve their credit, right? They deserve the praise. But we want to talk about some competitive, like nip and tuck games where we could talk strategy and stuff, right? So let's look forward to that on Tuesday. So again, thanks to all of you for being here. Thank our sponsor, Sun Cruiser, and BJ and the whole Bronco Nation News Network. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you. Thanks so much for being here. Don't forget, if you haven't done it already, subscribe in the link there on YouTube. And come on back in week 10 days, Tuesday to 30th, for the next episode of Another Night in the Mountain West. Good night, friends.